Greetings from Podcastville. We're back again with another episode of Paths We Took. As always, we're brought to you by our sponsor, Offit. Head on over to offit.com. That's their website. If you want to put in /paths at the end of that, you're going to be getting a discount on their extensive range of anti-masturbatory products. Look, it's lockdown season. I understand we've all been to places that we don't want to be, or that we didn't want to be. But, the doors are open, and it's time to walk out the door now. We don't need to stay indoors. But there's a little voice in your head probably saying, you know what, I like it here. It's safe, it's warm. I've got all I need. Just me and my rod. But, that's not the way life was intended to be lived. And if you're having trouble getting out of the house, I want you to do yourself a favor and head on over to offit.com. Type in the code word paths. Get the discount. I would say get the cayenne pepper sauce. It's my personal favorite. If you need something as intense as an anti-masturbatory cross, I suggest you go for it. You do whatever you need to do to ensure you get out of the house. Now, it's time for the episode, guys. Today I have a tremendous guest. My good friend and sort of my mentor in the photography world, Eric Yip. When we started this podcast, I had it in my head that I wanted Eric to be on at some stage. I didn't realize it would be this early, but I feel like I'm at that stage. It's episode 11 now. I feel like I'm at that stage where I've made a lot of mistakes in recording. I've corrected those mistakes. I've grown as a host. I can hold conversation. I can look a person in the eyes and be honest with them. So I said, fuck it. I'm going to ask Eric, and here we are. He's on the podcast, and we've had a nice little conversation on all things photography and more, a lot more. I'm going to let this one sort of speak for itself. I just want you guys to know. What do I want you guys to know? Look, all I'm going to say is that Eric's a tremendous guy. He sort of took me under his wing when I was getting into photography. And it was a pleasure to sit down in this sort of informal setting and I don't know, just chit chat instead of being that work zone. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's do it. This is probably like the 20th, 25th attempt at doing the intro, and I feel like I did a good job, so I'm going to pat myself right there on the back. This is episode 11, but in some ways this is episode 1, because the last 10 episodes were sort of practice, so, if you're listening, fuck yeah, let's get to it. If I'm working with my tribe, my filmmaking tribe, and we know what we know how to push and pull each other, and we don't give each other work that is gonna be thrown away later. And all the work that I did was pretty much thrown away, all the suggestions I came up with. So it's I'm just here
at
to
the edit. You mean?
No, I was meant to be the production designer.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were no's to all of my suggestions, with regards to creative things. So I remember we had the model, and her world was transforming from bleak to amazing or something, and I was giving suggestions for props that would transform, leaves would transform to her dress as they go in the But it's that they didn't want that because the leaves would be seen as let's just start now, Eric.
Okay.
Put the headphones on. Let's just do it. As I keep talking.
How is this just on?
Yeah. Can you hear yourself? No. How about now? Yep.
So I can hear you.
That's it. So if you want, Eric, I'll position you. So sit this way so we can face each other, and
having a cock in my mouth. Is it recording?
It is recording. You're all right with all this, yeah? What was I saying?
Not that I know. I mean, just saying.
Not that what?
That's it.
Sorry, yes, sir. Yeah, so I made a bunch of suggestions as a production designer because that was the role that was given to me, and like they were all like denied.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm just like,
What am I here for?
Yeah, what am I here for? So yeah, it's a weird, like if I was working with my group and I was put as a production designer and I like made the suggestions, there would be some collaboration, but because it was for like a client, there was no collaboration, but at the same time, it wasn't really a client. It was just someone we were working for free. So it's just like, it's a weird position where I'm just there to be a pair of hands.
I suppose sometimes you have to have clients which you're working for, whether you're paid or not, doesn't really matter, but to get into that momentum. Maybe it was one of those type of shoots.
I think I just learned, what I take away from it is like I learned more about myself and like I got to meet you and that's pretty much it, man. Like,
when was that? Do you remember specifically?
2016, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I first got here, basically.
I think so.
Yeah.
And okay, so actually one of the questions, I don't really write questions down, but like just in case things get slow, I write some questions down. And I have one question that's actually related to this. Because I remember you talking to me about this sort of shoot that we both worked on. You were obviously doing your own photography and like I was helping out with the video, but I was sort of asking you like, oh, like, what do you think of the photos you got that day? And I remember thinking back to that day and how I could just tell that you were not satisfied with what you were doing, like with how much photography you could do, because we were doing so much video and like you needed the model to yourself when you were doing photography and we needed her to ourselves when we were doing video. And I remember asking you like, oh, do you do much more stuff like that? And you just pretty much were like, no, I'd never do things like that anymore. Now I like, it's, when we do a project, it's like my project and I sort of, I don't want to say run the show, but it's like you have your vision and that's what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me like, how did you change from like that to like, I'm going to come on other people's projects to I'm doing my own projects and everyone's invited?
Well, it's not so black and white really. There's a lot of projects that I do now which are collaborations, and you simply have to divide the time.
Yeah.
Right. You have to make sure everyone else has what they need, what time they need, what props they need to shoot what they see in their own heads, whether it's motion or stills. Right. So I still do that. It's not that I don't. It's just that I'm a lot more certain on what I need to get my shit done.
Yeah.
Basically. And you become a lot clearer. You communicate that a lot more. You know, and it works out a little bit better. Right. So like you say, you learn from your past experiences.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of collaborations. In fact, a lot of work is collab at the moment, right? Just to make sure that, you keep moving and keep having the momentum. And it's also quite valuable because you meet different sorts of people, which, you're basically investing in, in terms of time for your future. So I do a lot of collabs still. It's just how I do it. It's a little bit different. Yeah.
Would you say that the project that we worked on with like the creative project with the two girls and the red car and like they're on their day off, would you call that a collaboration?
No, actually, that was specifically a brief that I put together. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've had this whole road trip, young youth thing in my head for a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, I recently did another one quite similar. So it's just this theme that I have in my mind, and that particular one was a job that I pulled together. I got everyone to contribute. Yeah. And that's a lot of time on my part, and it worked out quite well, I think. Yeah. So no motion, but right now I wish I did have motion. A lot of behind the scenes footage. It just adds another element to it. Yeah. In fact, I think motion now is massive. I think you can't do without it. Photos can't do without it. Stills should have it. Motion should have stills as well.
Yeah, I see you.
Both
Yeah.
ways. Yeah. So that's that. But just touching a little bit more on that first dancer job. It was. I didn't get enough time, but I think I got what I needed. It's just when you're working with a new group,
Yeah.
you really have to. It's better to push more than to push less and get maybe nothing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't say, hey, I want to shoot,
Yeah.
you just don't get your chance.
Yeah.
Right. And even in a commercial world now, when you shoot together with motion, you're always the one that has the least time.
Yeah.
Because it's the nature of your work, motion's work, that you need a lot more setup. You have a lot more people. You have grip. You have to worry about sound. You have to worry about everything else that's right there. It takes me 1/6000th of a second to get the image.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'm simplifying it, but you know what I mean.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
That's why I started to lean more towards photography, not to like replace filmmaking and motion, but because sometimes I want to do something and I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I just want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I fucking lean towards photography.
Yeah. Well, but also, photography is where you go swipe, 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 swipe. You barely have a millisecond for people to see your work.
Yeah.
And be able to absorb it, right?
That's true.
At least with motion or video or YouTube or a story, you're at least you're captured there as an audience for 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So there's more to do with motion than I think people can see. I think there's a lot more influence. Someone that's creating videos and motion and whatnot else that allows them to hold the audience a little bit more.
Yeah.
So in a way, photography has its massive disadvantages. But you're right. We could go out right now and shoot something amazing. Just you and me,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Without a lot of planning.
Exactly. I guess it's just like, it's a way for me to fulfill like my sort of creative needs, as opposed to like, I'm not even thinking about people seeing it. I just want to do something sometimes without having to call Sugarman and say, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Because I don't know, man. The more I do things, the less I like thinking about them.
Sugarman, that's that famous director, right?
Sugarman, yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is he cameos in like everything we do, and like I don't know. There's like another feature film right now that he's like gonna cameo as like a famous rapper, as just like he's just in everything. So yeah, he sort of is famous. Like not. That's how people see him. What you just said. That's actually how people see him when they meet him.
Yeah. Photography is a funny thing. It's been around for a lot longer. I think it definitely has its part in everyday life, history, culture, whatever you call it. It's significant because as they say, you tell a whole story with one picture.
Yeah.
But more and more these days, you're getting a story that isn't necessarily true with that one picture.
Yes.
Yeah, based on everything that's happening with technology and social media and everything else. So it's a bit scary, but it's interesting to be a photographer in this time. Yeah.
Like, now that you mentioned that, and you were talking about before how like people are swiping over your image in like a second. Were you doing photography? Probably not. What do you think about how photography is like integrated into social media? Like how would you see what you do
Fuck, that's a big question.
if you didn't have social media?
You know what? I'll have no idea. Yeah. Well, look, before social media, what were they doing? They were doing exhibits.
Yeah.
They were having people over at their houses to look at pictures.
Yeah.
Magazines, a lot of editorial work, putting up pictures into cafes. So it's all the small reach physical activities that needed to happen. Without social media, I have no idea Yeah. I'm not a young man, right? Comparatively, but social media to me is a very new thing,
Yes, it
right?
is.
So I'm still beginning to just starting to grapple with how to use it. I didn't even know what keywords were, right? Before 2 weeks ago, right? That's a different story. We might come to that. So I don't know how to answer that question because I started photography 6 years ago,
Okay.
full time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really started to try and market everything just 3 years back.
Oh, okay. I see.
So all of this stuff is quite new
Yeah.
to me. It's a hard place to navigate because there's a lot of work out there, and even what's not considered work, even what's considered happy snaps,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of what people see is designed by the algorithm that feeds your feed, right? So you may not be seeing all the good stuff that you want to see simply because you're friends with the people that don't produce good work, right? So I think one of the more important things for me, at least, is to filter the feed. You know, I hate to say it, but sometimes you got to take off that friend that posts 5 times a day the food that he eats. You know, so that you're fed subconsciously with the right sort of images that will ultimately influence your work.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the big thing about social media. To me, you've got to really be careful
Yeah.
on what you take in. Yeah. Big.
Yeah. I actually just learned how to not unfollow your friends, but like there's a feature where it's like you stop seeing what they're posting.
Oh, you mute.
Yeah, I mute them
mute.
because I would. Yeah, there was someone that was posting like 10 images a day.
Be a man. Unfollow.
Oh, I don't want to because they're following me. I don't want to. I don't want to. Dude, isn't that's oh, man? That's like another thing. It's like if I unfollow someone, it's rude. But if you like, I don't know, if you go back 20 years and you're like, if you explain social media to someone 20 years ago and you're like, I unfollowed this person, they would be like so what?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's a foreign concept. But now if you do that, it's like there's like these. I don't know. Everyone has this idea of what it means, but I don't like just what you said. It's not what it means.
That might explain why people don't like me.
It might explain why people don't like me.
Yeah.
I like you, Eric.
So social media, yeah, it's a funny one. Yeah. I recently went through my feed, and what's his name now? Anyway, it's not important. But one of my favorite photographers passed away, and I realized I haven't been seeing his work for weeks, maybe months.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? Clicked on him, and I was right. Like 3-4 pages of work that I hadn't seen.
Really?
Right, and it hadn't been coming on my feed.
Gotcha.
Right, so it's quite important to do that filtering. Yeah. Otherwise, you just don't see the stuff you want to see.
Yeah.
Or you should see.
Like going on Instagram lately, I feel like half the posts are like sponsored ads, and I don't even get to see who I want to see. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too much. It's too much. I can't scroll all day. You know.
There's a new Netflix program on called it's about social networks. I can't remember what it was called. Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch. Have a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. It talks about all this stuff, about whatever that's being fed to you
Yeah.
is a result of what others want you to see.
Yeah.
And the others are the people that are paying the money, the
Yes.
sponsorships.
Yes.
Right. And they talk about how negative the influence is.
Yeah.
Right, to us, the people that consume the media, consume the images or the sounds, the videos, whatnot. But if you turn it the other way, in the world of social media, people like me that are trying to survive in this industry need to use it, right? And if you tell me that all the right people are going to look at my work, I'll pay you.
Yeah.
I'll readily pay you. So it was an interesting experience, emotional experience watching that program, because on one hand, it's insidious as heck, right? What they're doing. Yet, I need it so much to get out there and market my work.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not even market it, but try and get some attention to my work.
Yeah.
You know,
To network.
to network. Yeah.
See other people's work.
Yeah. And having said that, though, fact number one, I have not gotten any work from Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, so others may have had good experiences with Instagram or Facebook. I've never gotten any work from Instagram. Yeah. Nor have I gotten any work from Facebook, business
Wow.
pages and whatnot.
Okay.
Google I have.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Google I have, because I think people who are interested will get on Google and look.
Yeah.
Right. But Instagram, Facebook, nothing yet.
And how do you know that it's coming from Google and not Instagram or Facebook?
Well, I ask.
We just asked. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. You know, there's a big part of me that says Instagram. You know, if you have a million followers on Instagram, perhaps you could monetize it.
Yeah.
But if you've got 5,000, 6,000, and most of the people following you are photographers, right? They're not going to give you
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of maybe an ego thing, or you know, you pleasure yourself with the fact that so many people follow you.
Yeah.
But really, it doesn't really help you in your career, in your life. Unless you want to be a coach, unless you want to have students.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one to analyze the sort of audiences you have and what you want to do with it. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
So that's social media. A love-hate relationship for me.
Yeah, me too. Like, I like was off my Facebook for like a year, and I still had to make another account, which I joined all the groups that my original account was in, because I needed to see what jobs are coming up. I still needed to be able to network. I still needed to be able to message certain people.
Yeah.
It's this thing that's just like a part of us, and like, love-hate relationship, just like you said.
But it's easy enough to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's easy enough to make a decision not to be involved in the social side and use it for what it's worth to us.
Yeah, exactly.
So, clarity for ourselves, I think, is so important. It allows you to
Yeah.
figure things out, what to do. What was that experience like? 1 year without Facebook? Did you get the jitters?
No, I didn't.
Withdrawals?
No. It's just, it's like a thing that, it's like if you had like no electricity at your house for like 2 weeks, you wouldn't get, I don't think you would get withdrawals. I think you would just like go to sleep earlier, wake up earlier, and you would figure shit out. And it stopped being a part of my life in that I wouldn't wake up and scroll through my feed for like half an hour before I got out of bed. I just get out of bed and go about my day, things like that.
So could you have a shit without looking at Facebook?
I play chess now when I take shits.
Do you tell your opponent?
No, but I'm going to assume that they're doing the same thing. Oh, man. You got to still, like...
You got to make use of that time.
You got to
right?
make use of the time. Technology is amazing, but it's like, let's not let it use us. Let's use it,
I think there must be some level of spirituality in having a shit without getting on technology.
Dude, absolutely.
It's meditative.
I think if I was a billionaire, I would have like I would have a mountainside as my view, and I think I would just have a toilet that the view would be the mountainside, and there would be no building around it. There would be no cover, and that would be my toilet if I was a billionaire. And like I in the mountainside,
Well, you don't have to be a billionaire to make that happen.
That's true.
You could at least do it for 1 or 2 days.
I could just do it,
Right?
Like, yeah,
You could.
You're right.
But you'd still be playing chess.
No. If I had that view, I would just sit there and enjoy it. Like, technology free.
You'd be messaging your opponent saying, by the way, I'm playing chess with you whilst looking at this big, massive, beautiful mountain, fluffy clouds floating by, and I can smell the flowers of spring,
Wouldn't that be amazing?
and I'm also having a shit.
I'm also taking it's just so efficient. You're getting your vitamin D. You're getting outside. You're seeing you're amongst the plants. You can probably hear some birds. It's I don't know. That's how we should. That's how we should be taking shits.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one.
I'm glad. You're right. You know, I don't need to be a billionaire to do that. I can just do that one day.
Yeah, there's so many things we can do without being billionaires.
Yeah. I don't know why. I feel like I need to be a billionaire to have society's permission. Like no one will think I'm weird if I'm a billionaire and I'm doing it. But if I do it now, it's like I'm weird.
I reckon. I think you'll
still
be
weird.
weird. Yeah, you'll be weird. So hey, so this photography thing, yeah. You were getting back into it, yeah.
Yeah.
And is it portraiture?
You know what I do? It's I find places that I like small businesses. I find them, and then I say, hey, I'm going to do an article on you. I want to do an article on you. Like I want to do it. Can I come take some photos? Like have a chat. I don't know. These places find me sometimes, and I find them sometimes. But that's how I just. I feel like I'm into. Not portraiture, but it's like getting to know the community sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't want to call it marketing, but it's sort of like marketing or public relations maybe. But I like showing other people. Yeah, and I've gotten some work and a lot of work. I just do a lot myself.
Yeah.
It's what I want to do, and it's fast. I'm practicing my writing. I feel like I'm engaging with the community, and like it makes me feel like if I just went out and shot like something by myself, then it's sort of up to me. But if I'm interviewing these people and taking photos of them and getting to know them, they're getting to know me. It's like I almost feel like I have a client.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it helps me like mentally.
I think that's really good actually, because you're essentially marketing your work. They're getting a taste of what you do, how you do it, watch how your processes are, what gear you use.
Yeah.
It gets you in,
Yeah.
right? And when they do need something, you've already spent, that 5 hours with them,
Yeah.
right? You're warm.
Yeah.
It's like try and buying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But it's like, man, I just love the fact that I can go up to people and be like, here's what I want to do for you. And they're like, okay. And they don't have, they just let you run free.
Okay.
And that's
Well, lucky you.
Yeah, exactly.
I can imagine people just telling me to fuck off.
It's
But you're not telling us the stories, are you? You're just telling us the good stuff.
some people have ignored me.
Yeah.
But generally it's like I feel the vibe and they feel the vibe, and then I hit them with the, hey, this is what I want to do, and like they can't say no.
Yeah. Okay.
It's obviously like I don't want to do articles for like a place that I think is shit. Like there's gonna be something special there.
Yeah.
There's something that I can just write. Not like it's gonna be no effort. Like the article will come out of me, and I will have to stop myself eventually because I'm writing too much.
Yeah.
It's not the opposite where I have to convince myself to write.
So how much of it is photography versus writing?
I would say with the articles it's probably like half and half.
Okay.
But obviously like I just do some photography that isn't the article related. But that is my vision for how I keep myself practiced.
Yeah. Cool.
Plus, I don't know, I go to a lot of hospitality places, and I feel like it's almost like filmmaking to me. Like I'm being a student of whatever they're doing. Like I did a shoemaker. I was like, he told me a lot about his life and blah, blah, blah. I could have made we sort of did make a documentary about him, but then I was like, I'm going to also write an article on him. And there's been cafes where I'm like, this is an amazing cafe. People in Sydney are like so snobby about coffee, yet they don't actually know what a good cup of coffee is. So it's like, I'm doing these things where it's like, I'm connected to them as a filmmaker, but it's like, I'm showing that through writing and photography.
Yeah. Well, you should meet the Melbournians.
Yeah.
Do an article on that.
Man.
how they compare to the Sydney people
Yeah, I
when
mean,
it comes to coffee. Let the
I've
battle
heard
begin.
things, but I can't. I don't want to judge people, but I don't want to judge people that I know that I don't know. But Sydney people, they have issues like when it comes to coffee because they're like, "This is the best cup of coffee ever." It's like, why? Well, oh, there's pretty latte art. That has nothing to do with fucking coffee. It's
Yeah.
just like a pretty picture. Like, and don't get me wrong, pretty picture's amazing, but like, to me, like once you put milk in the coffee, it's not coffee anymore. It's like a milkshake for adults.
Do you, do you ever look at latte and I always think that those clovers look like dicks?
I used to do that at Starbucks. I used to make dicks. I used to do my latte art always came out like a dick. Yeah. Sometimes you
And
put
how
the-
long did you work at Starbucks for?
Yeah, about 2-3 years. Yeah, no, everyone loved me there. But you know, you put the lid on at Starbucks. No one really sees a latte art. Yeah, man. Like,
Well, the best coffee I've ever had was right here.
get out.
Yeah.
That was instant.
Well, because it was followed after a cocktail.
See,
That's
yes,
why.
I can actually do good cocktails at home. It's hard to do coffee because you got to like buy actual good beans and you can only keep them for so long. It's got to be a thing that you keep doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's some cafes out there that really, if you like black coffee, they will blow your mind. And I don't think enough people appreciate that because, like, once you add milk, you're missing like 80% of what coffee can be. You know, like wine. Like everyone's like, oh, this wine is this and it has all these flavors. That coffee can literally be that. If you actually want to drink black coffee, you can get the taste of fruit, chocolate, caramel. It gets like quite weird. There's like one coffee legit. If I have this coffee, I will tear up every time.
Tell me.
All right, so it's a medium roast from Kenya over ice. I will tear up every time I have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to tell me where to have this. This
Just any cafe that has Kenyan beans
okay.
and they do it to a medium roast, just ask for it iced.
Okay.
That's it. It's about because African coffee is like, so coffee only grows in certain parts of the world, and coffee in Africa, the ground and the altitude makes it like a special thing, and when you ice it, the flavor changes and the flavor is maintained. Whereas other places, the flavor is lost once you put it over ice. And for African coffee, the flavor changes generally, and it's fucking amazing.
I'll try that.
Yeah,
I'll try that.
yeah.
Yeah. Kenyan. Okay. Yeah.
We diverted there.
Now, where's the photography in coffee? But that's okay. Coffee. Here's the photography in coffee. It's always been my my dream to do a story of the supply chain of coffee, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Shoot the farmers, understand how they live, what they do, how they live their lives. You know, do they drink coffee? You know, and how it gets here.
Yeah.
How it's picked, how it's roasted, how it's selected, and then the barista. You
Yeah.
know, what influence does he or she have
Yeah.
on the final drink,
Yeah.
and then the type of people that drink it.
Yes.
Right. That's a lifelong project on its own, but it's something that I've always wanted to do.
Oh, man.
So I've kept my eyes out for people that buy from the source.
Gotcha.
you know.
Yeah.
And if I meet any of them, I'll say,
Oh, dude, there's
you
a
know,
lot
I like
of
to do a story. Yeah.
there's a lot of great, well, not a lot, but there's a handful of really great roasters in Sydney. Like they have it down, and it's an insane process. And then when you get the cup of coffee and it's like $4, you're thinking, how the fuck did all that work you did translate into $4 coffee? Because what you just told me sounded like priceless. Like all the research you did, all the networking you did with the farmers, you know, the farmer has committed to giving you all of his beans. So it's like now your beans that come from that country are from a single estate. So it's like the quality is the exact same every time.
Yep.
You bring them here, you roast them, but you roast them like you've thought so much about it. Because when you do a blend, you're roasting everything separately, and then because it has to be certain time for every bean, because every bean is like a different size, different weight. So it's like you got to roast it a certain amount of time, and then you're blending it, and then you're. I don't know, it's ridiculous. How am I paying $4 for that? It's crazy.
Well, it's $4 times 4,000 a day.
Yeah, that's true. But if you told me, hey, Michael, you can get instant coffee, or like you can get our product that we made with all that work for like $50, you know, it's like you got to sort of think now, because like it's just, I feel like they just give it away. You know, they just give it away, and like you can get shoot coffee as well for $4, but it's like they have like the best coffee, and it's $4. Like, why would you go anywhere but there? In my head.
You're right.
But
Right.
you know, you're absolutely right. Like
Convenience.
everywhere has they price their coffee the same, but it's if you
Casa de Michael.
I go a bit crazy with coffee sometimes. Just yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like coffee. It's definitely a cup or two every day. Yeah. And if I could do a project on it, I would really love to. Yeah. So calling out anyone who has involvement in coffee, love to do a project.
do you approach like, would you approach people like that you want to work with?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man,
Easily.
How do you approach them?
Exactly like what I told you. You know, it's been something that I've
Yeah.
wanted to do for a long time. Here's my work, nothing related to what I'm thinking of doing,
Yeah.
but I can shoot, I can make pictures, I can tell stories.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to do something with your business or, you know, your hobby or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Because it's so wide, this
Yeah.
topic, right? And it'll be nice to partner with people that feel the same way.
Yeah.
A writer,
Yeah.
a video guy, perhaps, you know, someone that understands how to get to these places, like a proper location guy or someone
Yeah.
who's on the ground local, you know, fixing stuff for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of it's the access to the right sort of people,
Yes.
access to the locations, access to people that are willing, not the photography work, not the video work. I mean, that's taken for granted, right? And how people welcome you, I suppose. If they don't like you, you turn up there and they don't want to tell you anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, talking is such a big part of things, because if people aren't comfortable with you and you have to take photos of them, it's
Yeah. Imagine that portrait.
yeah. How do you deal with that? Have you dealt with that? You must have dealt with that at some point.
Uncomfortable sitters,
Yeah.
subjects.
Not just for portrait, but for like anything, anything photography wise.
Yeah, I suppose so. Oh God, there's so many ways of dealing with it. Most of the time, it's humor. I think humor is quite universal. It can help if you find something common that you can laugh about, something stupid,
Yeah.
or I don't know. You can take a break. It's as simple as that. You know, take a break, sit down with your subject and say, "Hey, man, what's going on?" You know, or shoot the breeze for a little bit, go get a drink, offer him or her coffee,
Yeah.
and take it from there. I don't have a tool specifically to, you know, that's a go-to.
Yeah.
But what I can say is, if I have a sense that it's going to be an uncomfortable shoot for whatever reason, for example, the subject doesn't like photographs,
Yeah.
and it's very obvious, yeah, and they even say, "I hate photographs," then you spend even more time preparing, you know, figuring out what their lives are like. Scroll social media, scroll LinkedIn, ask the producer, ask the client what the hobbies are. Is he a family man? You know, does she play tennis? Whatever it may be, you know, find out as much as you can so that you have enough to
Yeah.
talk about, right? And if you can find common ground, it just eases things up a little bit, yeah. Or talk about what you're passionate about, right?
Yeah.
So if you're excited about something, it's quite common that people would be interested if you're, you know, really into and passionate and can't stop talking about something. You know, you make things sound interesting just with your energy, right? So talk about yourself. Yeah. Of course, don't focus on it, right? but I think that helps
Absolutely, I think
Yeah.
that definitely makes people a little less anxious sometimes. Social
because it's not
situations.
focused on them.
Yes.
Focus on you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, any number of ways, but it really depends. I never really thought about it actually. Yeah.
Just obviously, it's definitely something you've had to deal with. Now that you say, and I know I remember you would always play music when we're setting things up for a shoot.
Music's my thing. I I just need a flow. I need a soundtrack.
Yeah.
You know. But often when I like models that I knew, or subjects that I feel are uncomfortable there, from when they come in and when I speak to them, I often throw the playlist to them and say, hey, put whatever you feel that you like on.
Yeah.
You know. And I shoot a lot of dancers, I shoot a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of time they move, based on the type of music they like, right? So you often see swimmers before they swim, they'll be listening to something. Yeah. So they're usually quite glad to put on stuff that they want to hear. Yeah. And that just, gives us something common to bond with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I listen to quite a whole bunch of music, very, very different types of music as well. So I can relate to heavy metal, I can relate to rap, I can relate to classical, or, pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now it's The Sound of Music.
Wow. Wow. That's
Isn't that weird?
a little bit. I listen to some weird shit as well, so I'm not that surprised, but still, like, I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, The Sound of Music. My little boy is really into that at the moment. So it's just brought back a lot of memories.
Wow.
Yeah, Julie Andrews, all of Rodgers and Hammerstein's works at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you find that Sound of Music, Mary Poppins, Oliver, they share a lot of the same actors and people.
Yeah.
They just churn stuff out. At the time, and they're good stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't make them the same anymore.
No.
Right, they remade Mary Poppins. I couldn't quite connect to it. Maybe because I had such a strong sense to the original. Yeah.
Be a part of it, but I don't know. I would say there is a sort of magic missing. Not that I've seen it, but I still understand. Not that I've seen the new one, but I totally understand what you're saying.
You've seen all the old?
Yeah,
classics?
I think I ruined the cassette, the videotape, from how much I watched it.
The VHS?
Yeah, the VHS,
I thought it would have been
DVD.
LDs or DVDs by
No.
that time for you.
No. That was one of the first movies that my mum got for me or got for the house or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the oldest VHSs. I remember.
Those always get eaten up
Yeah.
at my place.
Yeah.
Always.
The good thing is about VHSs is once you move past the part that is damaged or scratched, it plays like normal. But once you scratch a DVD, that's it. It's finished.
That's right. We'll forget about DVDs and CDs and all of that very soon.
I think so.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm one of the few. I shouldn't say that. I was going to say one of the few people that have been through that many technologies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're
The cassette tapes. Oh, hang on. Even before the cassette tape, it was the what was it? The big ones, the magnetic ones, the ones that look like a block. I can't even remember what they were called.
were they smaller?
No, they
bigger.
were about this big. Right.
Oh, I can't remember that.
I can't remember. So before cassette tapes, and then after cassettes were MDs, floppy disks. Yeah. Before those ones
Yeah.
were those ones.
I remember those
The
ones.
truly floppy disks.
I remember those ones.
Yeah.
I don't remember the ones before those, apparently, which was just a piece of cardboard with holes in it.
Oh no, no.
That
I don't know those ones.
apparently that was the first form of memory storage for computers. It was a piece
Wow.
of cardboard with holes in it, and
Wow.
there weren't that many variables, so the computer knew what that meant or something. I guess.
Yeah, mini discs that never took off, but they were cool. Yeah,
Oh, dude, yeah,
they were cool.
I've seen those. We're definitely in this period of time, and we have been in a period of time where it's like an explosion of technology, and there's just so much that no one knows what is going to be adapted, or like what's going to be kept. So
Yeah.
there's just so much, and there's so much that like dies off. And
Yeah. Well, yeah, photography wise, you say it very succinctly. Yeah, there's so much of it and it dies off so quickly. So it's in one sense, and in most cases, it's a very difficult environment to be playing in
Yeah.
right now. But on the other, it really forces you to make different work, right? And it's so clear to see, if you're willing to see it, that your work becomes very normal, very mediocre, very usual, very all the same. And it means exactly that. It means that you have to try and somehow find a way to do something really different and really exciting.
yeah,
Yeah. It's hard to do. Being creative like that is shit hard to do. Yeah, you'd pay for that.
yeah, no, exactly.
You'd pay to press a button and go, okay, here's something different that you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not easy. Yeah. So I shoot a fair amount, and I've thought about this a lot lately. I shoot a fair amount of personal projects. Yeah, just to explore stuff, make mistakes, fuck around with light, see what happens. And if I find something, then I'll save it for a commercial job, which I can pitch for.
yes,
Right. And it gets harder and harder. The more and more you shoot, the more and more experience you pick up, the less and less new stuff that you can try.
yeah,
Yeah. And it doesn't all fall on us as creators.
That's true.
But the fact that there's a billion other creators out there and they're all sharing their work.
yeah,
So it's hard to say that you're the first one that did it.
yeah,
Yeah. In fact, I think it's probably more relevant to say you're the first one that got it out the quickest to the
Yeah.
most people.
yeah,
Yeah, in this area, in this space. Yeah. And being the third or the fifth or the 100th person that has done it, but the first to get it global,
yeah,
means that you did it first.
yes,
You know? Yeah. So it's a hard one out there. Yeah. And the trick is to get it out there as quickly as you can, but just make sure it's good work.
yeah. I think like a part of the articles that I do, it really helps because I meet these people and I'm so like inspired by them. I'm so interested in them. I feel like the work does itself. So it's really helpful when the subject or the project has something that's just so obvious and it's like, oh, this is what I want to shoot. This is how I want to shoot.
Yeah. Yep. That's really, really true. Who said it? I can't remember who. Along the lines of, if you want to make a better picture, shoot better subjects, right? And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
If you want to shoot a real runner,
Yeah.
don't go for someone who thinks they can run.
Yeah.
Shoot someone that does it for their lives,
Yeah.
right? And any picture will turn out well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. And if you're inspired even more so by the subject that you're shooting, then everything just flows, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. They bring it out of you.
And I imagine the writing would be superbly influenced by this because you're really, putting words to the people.
When it comes to these articles, it's like nothing. It just comes out like by itself. I wouldn't compare it to any other type of writing. It's just like, how did these people make me feel? Like, obviously I'm only doing these projects for people that I think are exceptional. So it's like they already bring a lot to the table.
Yeah.
And it just makes everything so easy because I already know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the fact that like, this guy has been making, he is a shoemaker. Like he is a shoe, he's a cobbler. Like that's it. That's his craft. And it's like, you think about it and you're like, whoa, if I want to get my shoes fixed, I throw them away and I go buy another pair. Or I go to the locksmith who just happens to make shoes as well. And it's like, this guy is like adamant that he's just doing shoes and it's like his craft. Like you wouldn't go to a mechanic and be like, oh, my air conditioner's not working. That's like his level of of class. And it's like, you know what, that is weird, because I feel like 50 years ago, 70 years ago, that was a thing, but it's like it's just become so saturated now. And also we just throw our shit away and get new shit as well. And the cafes, they've just had like really good coffee, which I think needs to be like like a light needs to be shined on. There was another one where there was like 3 French guys that were like baking every day, and it was like, wow, this is like what my parents used to talk about when immigrants would come here and they would start their businesses and like share their culture. So it's like that, like I felt a connection with that. I had to talk about that. There was another place where these guys, I felt like I had entered this like little community, and there were all like, it was all these old people like in the cafe and me, and we were just hanging out, and they were telling their stories, and I just like felt like so cathartic afterwards. And like the first thing I did was like, I gotta go to my grandma and like just see what's up with her right now. It's like, you know, so it's so easy to talk about stuff like that because these people like really sort of affect me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to read some of this. Yeah, send me links.
Will do.
Yeah, I'd love to read some of that. Yeah. And let's do a coffee thing together.
Sounds good. I actually know my shit about coffee, so I can.
Let's go to Bolivia.
Bolivia.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Please. I'll go anywhere with you, Eric.
Small volumes.
Yeah.
Small volumes. Yeah, very nutty.
Mm.
Never heard of that one, huh?
No.
Yeah. I've been looking everywhere for Bolivian coffee. Yeah, it's very, very small volumes, very low yields,
Gotcha.
basically. So you don't get it very often.
Gotcha.
So when you see it,
Wow.
just try some.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. My other favorite's Papua New Guinean coffee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, you definitely got to try Kenya then.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm sure to have had it
I
at
didn't
some
realize.
point.
I didn't
but,
realize you were this into it.
Yeah,
You're telling
but
me.
I can't remember it. But I'll pay more attention next time.
I don't think it's that popular because cafes generally stock something that is going to go well with milk, and you don't want to put fruity stuff with milk. So it's, you know, if you have something like Kenya, that means you have 2 roasts of coffee at least. One for like people that order milk in their coffee, and one that for people that order black.
Yeah.
And then as well, people just associate like coffee with like a bitter taste. So, you know, it's sort of got to be not specialty, but it's got to be people that mix it up a bit, because I feel like just Kenya is not that, like, no one drinks that type of coffee and they're like, oh yeah, this is what I was expecting when I came in today. I'm happy with my purchase. It's like, I don't think it's like that.
Oh, they just want that buzz and that hit and get out of there, right?
Yeah. They want, that little bit of bitterness, which people associate with strength, but it's like, the more bitter a coffee is, the less caffeine it has generally. So it's sort of weird how we think.
What's that South American tea that they drink in the Aztecs had it? What's it called? They drink it in a little tin, sort of round gourd with a metal straw that comes out of it.
It's so funny. I saw people drinking this like a few weeks ago when I was out with my girlfriend and some friends, and they were like, "Oh, that's that tea," and I was like, "What's that tea?" And they started telling me about it.
Something mate.
Mate.
Something mate.
Mate. Yeah, man.
You'll find that I have a memory problem.
Oh, me too. Me too. There's too much shit in here.
It's gaps everywhere. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Yama mate, maybe. Yabe.
I think mate.
Yabe
Is
mate.
oh,
or
man.
something.
We need. I need like a third person to just Google everything for us.
That's what's his name? The guy that did a podcast with Elon Musk and had
Oh yeah, Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He's got one of those guys
yeah.
sitting on the side.
You need one of those guys. But yeah, you know, in a few years maybe.
And samurai swords lying around.
I mean, I've got a few things, but what do I have? Yeah, I've got the floppy disk.
You've got the grandfather clock behind you.
Yeah, I got the Queen, Muhammad Ali. Yeah, but it's mostly just boxes.
Yeah.
For the sound.
Yeah, the most interesting stuff is the what you use to dampen the sound. Really.
I didn't even eat any of those eggs. That's all my parents and grandparents. But they obliged and
My
saved them for me.
my wife is starting to bake a lot, and wow, the number of eggs that you go through.
Yeah.
Like each cake can be 6 to 8 eggs.
Yeah.
Right. Bake 4 of those cakes.
That's a lot of
It's
eggs.
a lot of eggs
Yeah.
in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine what the vegans would say.
You can start your own podcast with all eggs. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric. You have a degree in electrical engineering, don't you?
I do.
What
I do.
happened?
Nothing happened. I think it's just the course of life, really. Yeah. What did I want to do? I was toying with medicine, simply because it was cool to do, and some status. I loved the human body. It all came together, but I didn't get the marks for it. Nowhere close. And engineering was the easiest degree to do, and yet have all the options available. So you could go into biomedical engineering. You could get into accounting, business, and whatnot because of the math basis, statistical basis, and all that kind of stuff. So I did it. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I found it interesting, but I don't think I enjoyed it. Yeah. When I got out of uni, I spent 1 year doing programming, which is what engineering was a lot about at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of programming work. I lasted no more than 8 months doing that.
Yeah.
Somehow, I ended up in Telstra
Yeah.
doing bidding. So marketing work, commercial work, some sales and marketing, and some technical. So when you put the bid together to build a network, you need to put all these parts basically together. And I was in a team that helped put that proposal together so that we could pitch to whoever it is that wanted a network that we could build. So I spent nearly 5 years there, and that put me into Singapore. Mm-hmm. Right, and I continued doing that work, and then moved into human resources, and then moved into photography. Right after that,
It's like
that's
it was
a
meant to be.
fast forward. So looking back on my life, you asking what happened. That's just how my life went, basically. If I'm not interested in something, I don't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I was interested in it enough to stay, and once I got out, earning money from it was not my line of work. So I moved. Yeah. And I kept changing until I found something that I liked. And it's typically every 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that, 10
Ooh.
years.
Does that mean you have like 4 more years left in photography?
3 to 4 more years left. If I don't make something of it, who knows? Something else might be around the corner. Who knows? Yeah. But so far, I'm really deep into it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I'm striving, or I wouldn't say that it's worked out the best. I certainly had a better career when I was in corporate, monetarily.
Yeah.
I mean, financially. But there's still time, right?
Yeah.
There's still time, and it takes that much work to really build foundations and grow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. So that's what happened to engineering. I think it just did. Yeah. No real reason of what happened to it, but yeah, very similar to every part of my life.
Yeah.
Except my wife. I suppose that stayed.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Having said that, let me think. When's the 10-year anniversary? Soon.
How did she feel about your delving into photography after having the corporate job and
Yeah, look, it was a big change for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, because life had to change significantly. Yeah. Corporate was a monthly salary, a quarterly incentive, a 6 months performance bonus, a yearly thing. You know, you get all of those payments, salary and incentives and income. And most of all, it's stable because you know exactly when it's coming in. In photography, it's, at least for now, it's not like that. You know, you could get a nice big job and you have nothing for the next 2 or 3 months. Yeah. So how we lived made a big difference. Yeah, we'd have to plan everything a lot better. We have to save a lot more for situations where we don't have work.
Yeah.
And what was more uncomfortable was the fact that she also left her corporate job to teach yoga.
Wow.
So we both went on our own paths to do what we
I love that.
loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may love it. That's what everyone says.
Why?
But
Yeah.
heck, wow, it was. This is one of the things that I'm very clear. If I look back and I go back in time, I will not do it again.
Yeah.
I'll do it quite differently. Yeah.
Before I ask you how so, I gotta just say I think the fact that she left her job and did something that she wanted to, like, that was completely different, and you did the same at the exact same time, I just feel like that is so, it's just, you're gonna feel so much warmer when, like, you get home at the end of the day and maybe like you're not there where you want to be yet, but it's like you have this other person in your life that's going through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that just, yeah, that would be something that I don't think a lot of people would have when they make drastic, crazy, maybe
Yeah.
changes in their lives. But what was that question that I said I was going to ask? I forgot.
I can't remember either. Yeah, but yeah. I think be very clear, yeah, and sort out very specifically how you want to develop your photography career before embarking on it.
Mm-hmm.
And for all you know, it's going to turn out all fucked up anyway, right? Because you never know what's going to happen,
No.
and you don't have anything in place, basically. Maybe not a mature portfolio, maybe not the right network, maybe not enough time spent, with the industry. So it could be any number of things that doesn't allow it to happen. But at least you know exactly what you need to do, and you're working towards that.
Yeah.
Right. It just took a little bit longer than expected, particularly coming back here to Sydney. Yeah. Where truly the networks were very raw to me. Yeah, because it's a new industry for me here as it was in Singapore. So that's where I started, 3 years in Singapore doing photography. But Singapore is a smaller market, and it's also quite different. The culture is different there.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more, for lack of a better word, transactional,
Yeah.
right? So they need something, you've got it, you bid for it. It's very likely that it just comes down to price.
Oh.
And it's transparent. Look, you need to hit this number, and you decide whether you want to hit it or not.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, there's a lot of circles of influence, where, they use a particular person because they've been using them for a long time. Yeah, and I get it, because these are big budget items, and you don't want the risk of being with someone new.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a little bit like that. Yeah. So that's the big inertia at the moment, I'd say. Yeah. I think engineering helped. Yeah. Going back to your comment. Very process driven, right? Very number driven, very factual. So that helps when you're dealing with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise you just be taken on a ride, basically, if you don't talk straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know how to add, subtract, multiply. It helps with the books, the accounting.
Yep.
Yeah. The quotes.
Man, I remember once being in like a film class, and the teacher asked his, I forgot what the question was. It was so simple though, and he had no idea. Like, he must have had like a doctorate, and he had no idea like this simple math like question. and everyone else in the class was like so confused as well. And I remember just being there like, this is so easy. Like, but I'm not gonna say. I just want to see how long this goes for. So yeah, it's creative people.
Yeah.
Numbers aren't always the, I don't know, something they're familiar with.
There's a lot to say about not being in the headspace that you were in before, and how it affects how you think, speak, behave, understand. Having done photography now for 6-7 years, whatever it is, I think I've lost a lot of touch on current affairs, for example, politics, corporate issues, which used to be my everyday life.
Yeah.
And when I start talking about that stuff, I feel really lost and shallow, and
Yeah.
but it used to be something that was a really big part of my conversations.
Yeah.
Right. I see things differently now, right? I see
course.
light, shadow, color, textures, behaviors, movements, patterns, lines a lot clearer than I did before, right? Simply because I'm spending so much time doing it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at every pixel, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to a picture. So that shift was really dramatic, really, really dramatic. And it also changes the type of people that you can hang around with.
Yeah.
Maybe can's too strong a word, but comfortable perhaps.
I understand what you mean.
Or them being comfortable with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm making people uncomfortable by saying, like, hey, I do film, hey, I do this. I feel like there's just this, maybe it's just me, but I do feel like there's like an awkwardness in the air when there's just something so foreign to them.
Is it because they look at you and they think that you make a certain type of film?
Maybe. Yeah, especially when I used to have that CD Mo. Yeah. I want to just say it's that. That actually would make me feel a lot better. No, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah. So the changes hasn't just been, just the work or career or money and stuff like that. It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
It's social circles. It's what you find yourself doing, how you travel, where you like to go so that you can shoot rather than where you like to go because it's interesting
Yeah.
for you just to be there and have that experience, all that kind of stuff. So it's been it is a big change, and I think people have to be ready for that if they're going to jump into it midlife or make a drastic change in whatever form. Yeah.
What if there was like a kid right now that was like 14 and they're still in high school, obviously, and they can't leave. They got to stay in high school for a bit longer.
Yeah.
But they're certain that they want to do photography. If maybe if you were in that position with the knowledge you have now, like how do you?
At 14?
Yeah. What are some steps you can do before you even have a chance to really pursue it?
At 14?
14.
Just do it.
Just do it.
At 14, all that energy, all that that stimulus that you have in you, naturally coming from youth, how ignorant you are of the world, that whole situation, is prime for getting really deep into something and just mowing down any obstacle that comes in your way. You remember when you were that young, nothing stopped you.
No,
The world was just you, basically. So at 14, if I meet anyone that's so certain that they want to do something at 14, 15, get it done, do it.
Yeah.
Full encouragement. And if things go wrong, you'll find out in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And what? You're not even 18. You can't even drink alcohol yet.
Yeah.
Life's lessons.
Yeah.
You heard of the mortality motivator at all?
I think I might have, but I'm gonna need a refresher.
Well, when you come close to dying,
Yeah.
you're left with and survive, of course, right? You're left with a very strong motivation
Yeah.
to do whatever it is you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And most people only get there at I don't know, 50, 60, 70. But if you got that at 15,
Yeah.
you came this close to dying,
Yeah.
right? Can you imagine what you'd do with your life?
Yeah.
And that's what happened to many people, right? You know, they come that close to ending it, and they come back with, you know, such an energy to do whatever it is that they want to do, and they become successful at doing it at a very, very early age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think go for it. You know, at that age, I'd encourage my kid as early as possible to do whatever they want, and I'll feel it.
Yeah.
You know, I really feel it.
I think, yeah, I think when I grew up, I was like under the impression that you weren't allowed to do things yet. You know, you got to hit a certain age, you got to learn from other people. Failure was a bad thing, but yeah, my perspective has changed, and
You see, we're wiser now.
yes,
Yeah.
not as young.
Not as young, but our kids can be.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, do you have any kids running around that no one knows about?
No, definitely not. Actually, I had to. No, definitely. That's pretty much impossible. That sounded a bit sad, didn't it? I don't know. I just I'm very what's the word? Like you know what? Maybe one night I didn't remember something, but I'm pretty sure I remember everything. I don't remember not remembering anything. So hopefully that's enough like credit to me that no, the answer is no. What's it like? What's it like being a dad and having a career in photography where it's like no set hours and you got to find the time to put the work in yourself? You think it's easier to balance things, or
Well,
there's a voice in your head that's always saying, no, you got to do one thing. No, you got to look at the kids. You got to look at photography.
yeah. Well, it's all of that because it is. You know, you can't choose your kid over what allows you to make a life for your family. You can't choose your own family. And by that I mean your in-laws or, you know, your mom and dad over anything else, because they're all important. Yeah. So it's really a juggle. It's really a balancing act because everything has to fit in your pockets.
Yeah.
Everything. So yeah, it's very frustrating. It's also very rewarding. Very rewarding. It's also a big realization that it stops at you, basically, because you have to make the choices, right? And sometimes you have to work that much harder, right? Put the kid to bed and then finish your project off. But you typically get to bed at 10, but you need 5 hours to get it done,
Yeah.
you know? So you just swallow it up and get it done. But times like COVID, for example, I felt really good. You know, there's no real change.
Yeah.
I'm always doing my own thing anyway. I don't have, you know, any more schedules to keep up with. Yeah, that I can't control myself. You know. So nothing really changed during COVID. Yeah. So all around me were people feeling the pains of adjustment.
Yeah.
Whereas for us freelancers, yeah, it was quite simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except there was just no jobs, so
But
that was uncomfortable.
I think when you're freelancing, you sort of know how to deal with that already.
Exactly. Yeah. And a good time to do your personal work.
Yes.
And which you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you really should. And in doing your personal work, yeah, it gives you the chance to reassess where you want to be, where you want to go.
Yeah.
What's the next new look that you want to have? Yeah, because you have to keep doing that. every 2-3 years at least, you have to come up with something new visually.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Otherwise, you don't feel fresh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard juggling it, but it's also, you can look at it another way. It could be very easy because you don't have to wake up one day and do the work. You can just say, I'm taking a break.
Yeah.
And you do.
Yeah.
Right? There was once I just said, look, I'm gonna pick him up early from school and we're gonna go for a bushwalk.
Yeah.
And we can.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely.
So it's easier and it's harder all at the same time. It's this whole yin yang thing, right? It's all black and it's all white except for that little dot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Figure it out.
yeah, you do. You do. Or you just let it happen. Like it happens most of the time, it just happens and you have to just accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get through my questions just in case. Oh, we got to just talk about your process for putting together like a brief and a shoot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because yeah, I remember you. I don't know. I think I was asking you for advice on how to like get models. Like how do I? No, I was telling you about a time where a model didn't show up, and you were telling me, well, Michael, you've got to make a brief. You've got to make them read the brief. You've got to, make sure that they're gonna have the costumes.
Yeah.
You've got to get them to show. You got to make them jump through all these hurdles before you get to the day.
Yeah.
And it's like if they don't jump through hurdle number 1
Yeah.
and hurdle number 10 is being there on the day, like you're gonna know that way in advance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that just blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, you're absolutely right. Like here I am like being scared to ask anything because I don't want to inconvenience anyone, but in the end everyone's inconvenienced by like me not knowing that someone isn't as committed to the project, I guess.
Well, yeah, okay. The process of the brief for me is really just to make sure that the shoot works out well. Everyone's prepared, everyone has the same expectation and is working towards the same goal. And any questions are answered before the shoot. Because when we come on to shoot, let's just have fun making the picture,
Yeah.
right? Not having to go through questions again and figuring things out again. So the brief will have details of where the location is with a map, directions, pre-scouted and whatnot. It'll have keywords so that everyone's aligned to the feel of the shoot. So it's young, energetic, youthful, wispy, sexy, whatever it may be, right? Everyone will transfix themselves on those keywords. And then you have the expectations, right? You need to sign a model release. You need to come with hair clean. You need to come with no foundation or anything else. You need to be prepared with some sneakers, some, whatever it may be, right? A whole list of items that you need to make the shoot run proper. And then, of course, the key bits are the mood board. Now, the mood board's, again, for people to align to, so that they understand what sort of expressions they need to deliver or what sort of emotion they need to feel so that you can create that set of images or that video or whatever it may be. Now, if you have that in a brief or a document, whatever you want to call it, and you send it out to the people involved, everyone becomes aligned. Everyone can ask questions. Everyone can give their creative input. Hey, why don't we try this and try that? And some good stuff has come out of that. But if you're just talking when you're making a picture,
Yeah.
and words don't look like anything.
Yeah.
Pictures do,
Yeah.
right? So when everyone aligns to visuals and that brief together with your expectations, then it's a lot easier for everyone to work.
Yeah.
Right. Now the whole element of making sure people do the right thing naturally comes with that. Because if people are not committed,
Yeah.
or they start to feel like, oh, I can't live up to what we're trying to do here,
Yeah.
they'll pull out.
Yeah.
Right? They'll pull out, or they'll tell you, and you can make adjustments.
Yeah.
Right. oh, don't worry, we'll help you through it. Or, okay, how about you try this instead of that? Yeah. So through that process, I think people naturally get, you know, either eliminated or get more involved,
Yeah.
or more people join in, to do the shoot. Yeah. So I think it's a key part because it's really the pivot point for everyone to start working together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I mean, with models, a lot of people these days, coming back to our social discussion, social Instagram type thing, many people feel that making an image for them is I turn up, you make me look good,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't work that way. Yeah. If I'm shooting a rotten stick, I get a picture of a rotten stick.
Yeah.
Right. I want to shoot a picture of a polished stick.
Yeah.
So it looks good, and then I can make it look better.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's important for them to understand what is expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by that time, once we go through the whole process, once we talk to them, once we look at wardrobe, once we look at hair, makeup, at least you have some level of certainty that they'll turn up looking as you expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't waste any time. Yeah. Having said that, shit still happens.
Of course.
Yeah. Hello, Michael. I'm still in bed. Yeah. And it'll take me half an hour to get to you, or an hour. And then you push back by an hour on your call sheet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think a brief is only the first thing that needs to happen. And that's on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As the controller or the creator of the ultimate product, whether it's the video, i.e. the director or the creative director or the photographer to put that together so that it can be put out and massaged into a final product, final brief. Yeah. And then all the real world stuff happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, because everyone will have their input.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's a collaboration where everyone should have the input.
Yeah.
Because everyone should walk away from that shoot not only with images of your vision as a photographer, but images for themselves
Yeah.
that are useful to them.
Yeah.
Because my vision might be silhouettes or very narrow dark lighting on the side, but the model can't use that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see her face.
Yeah.
You can't see his body.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's a collab type scenario, we have to pull them aside and shoot portraits. We have
Yeah.
to pull them aside and shoot half body, full body, so that they get some work.
Gotcha.
We've got to pull them aside after hair and makeup before everything happens, or as things happen, just as long as everything is in place, and make sure that hair and makeup get a very well flat
Yes.
image of their work.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that anyway. With you
Oh,
see all
yeah.
of them, using
Yeah.
their phones. But you want to add a little bit of value, so
Yeah.
you shoot a nice picture on a nice lens, and frame it up all nicely, and do one for hair and makeup. Right. I mean, after all, these people are spending their time,
Yeah.
driving all the way down wherever it is your location is. Spending half a day there, spending money on the makeup, which is consumables, which
Yeah.
they have to pay for.
Yeah.
Hair, same thing. Stylist, same thing. So for those sorts of shoots, it's important to make sure that brief considers what everyone's going to get.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can't for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure they understand, but I'll always make some time to make sure that people get what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a actual job, well, you've just got one goal and everyone's hired to do that, so that's a lot
Exactly.
simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that mindset as well. Just like give everyone something they can use for them. Like,
Have you
well,
been
yeah.
creating briefs?
I did one brief for a shoot that I wanted to do, and the makeup artist ended up like pulling out on the day. So we didn't go through with it, but because I had like written so much stuff down and gotten so much, I sort of was able to really think of something else on the spot.
Yeah.
Sort of as a, it was sort of like the opposite. of what I was doing. It was like, so I had like, my brief was like sort of like this lone survivor, like post apocalypse that was like in like this warrior like makeup, but obviously like without the makeup hair there. I was like, all right, so same sort of brief, because I had all the locations that looked like really bleak, but I was like, what about this is like that lone survivor, but in early days.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
like she's got like the normal clothes on, but and she's like a bit more scared, and she's got like sort of that mentality. She's not the warrior yet, but this
Yeah.
is like the prelude to that.
That's exactly what it does. Is that it gets you so intimate with what you're trying to do
Yeah.
that you know it so much better that you can, you can kung fu your way out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
to speak.
exactly.
And you can always come back to that brief
Yeah.
a little bit later. So over time you build up, a whole bunch of briefs.
Wow.
I've got everything, just collected in one space,
Yeah.
and if it's on the cloud, you have it very readily available.
Yeah.
So it also allows you to just pull something up and say, hey, this is what I think we could do,
Yeah.
except we change this and change that.
Yeah.
So it just allows ideas to just materialize a lot quicker.
Yeah. I've definitely kept a lot of your briefs just so I can look at them every now and then and be like, oh, this is how I do it. This is how I do a brief. This is how I put ideas together. Like, this is what I need to bring when I'm
Yeah.
putting a project together for anything, even like
Yeah.
not just photography.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of it, yeah. And then your briefs will change as you change as a person on what you want to do. And no one has an excuse because everyone's read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you get some funny stories where it goes, oh, no, I didn't know that. Okay, well, did you read the brief? Yeah, sure I did. Well, here it is on page 4, line number 6, bullet point number 3.
Man, I think even just for me, like, I've only done that one brief. I only did that one shoot.
Yeah.
That was in that sort of format, I guess. But it made me, it gave me more confidence. Made me feel like I was achieving something. Helped me get out of my own head.
Well, you know your stuff, right?
Yeah.
When you've written something down, you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Last thing you want, and you've probably worked on set with people who didn't quite know what they were doing or what they wanted.
Yes.
Changing
Yeah.
their minds.
Absolutely.
And it's frustrating when you're working with people like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
you can try, you can experiment, and I'm a big supporter
Yeah,
of
yeah.
trying new things, but get what you need to get done
Yeah.
first and agree to first, and then fuck around later,
yeah.
right? And that's often the best bits, actually.
Yeah.
The playful bits.
Absolutely.
You go places you never thought that that you could get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we had ideas for that boxing shoot, for example.
Yeah.
At having that motion shot with the black background,
Yeah.
if you remember, doing that was something that was a very shallow idea at the beginning, but the fact that we could pull it off by covering all the available light,
Yeah.
helped. Yeah, so the idea was there, but that was part of the play
Yeah.
per se.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We
it
did
turned
it at
out
the
okay.
end, like after the shoot almost. Yeah.
So it turned out okay.
Yeah.
So I think play is quite an important thing,
Yeah.
particularly for us types, creative types, that we go out there and we really explore
Yeah.
what we're uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Especially what we're uncomfortable with.
But I absolutely love being organized and getting what needs to be done out of the way. And it's like, now we're here with everything and some extra time to play.
Yeah. I would love to come on one of your shoots.
Like film shoot. Film shoot?
Any shoot.
Oh, okay.
Any shoot. Be
Oh,
on
man.
your set. I'll take pictures. I'll make myself useful.
I'd love to bring you on a film set because then I would feel like I am showing you like something new, as opposed to photography where you're like, oh my god, Michael, you're doing this wrong and this wrong and this wrong. Yeah. Yeah, it's been so lackluster, I guess, lately.
Yeah.
I've just been like, I don't know, I guess out of the game. It's been a lot more contemplative and talking about ideas rather than executing ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's
Sometimes you need to get to a level and then it'll all happen at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah. Everything happens at the right time.
yeah,
And if you have that perspective, then you flow with it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hole that you don't want to go down. You know, to feel like time's being wasted.
yeah,
Yeah. No doubt we have to work hard,
yeah,
but we also need to rest hard.
yeah,
Yeah, and get into a space where it allows our minds to go where it needs to go to come up with something new. And I don't know why we're circling back to Instagram all the time, but I think Instagram is a big influence on many people's lives.
yeah,
Yeah, and to expect that we create new and unique images from looking at the same source as
oh
the
yeah,
million other photographers looking for inspiration
yeah.
is a joke.
It is,
You know?
yeah,
And we don't have to be looking at pictures. We can be delving into all sorts of other things to create inspiration for ourselves.
yeah,
We could be making the 10 cocktails a day and draw some sort of visual experience from there. Not to mention being very drunk
I-
every day. And make something of it, you know? Or dive deep into tennis or whatever
Yeah.
it is that you do. Coffee, you know. People get inspiration from art or...
Eric, I gotta say, the one thing that fucked with me when I first started working from home was like, I'd feel like a prisoner and I'd feel like I gotta sit at the computer and do all the work. Lately, I've learned I've really just gotta get out of the house at least once a day.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, the amount of stuff that happens, the amount of things I think about, I feel better. I'm getting inspiration from places I never thought. I'm meeting people. It's you just got to like if you don't know where to start, it's like just get out of the house. It's like you'll be amazed at what you see and what you think about.
Yeah.
Like anything can happen once you leave.
It's body, mind, and soul, right? You've really got to take care of all three of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if they work together, then you're happy.
yeah,
So, yeah. And what do I do? I take my kid out a lot, right? So that's really given me the impetus to shoot a lot more families.
yeah,
So I'm doing family work now as well, which also fits into the whole idea of a safer business model.
yes, yeah,
I mean, over COVID, commercial work comes to zero.
yeah,
So there's commercial work, there's work for business. So headshots, portraits, corporates, interiors, facades, all those kind of things. That also slows down, but not as much as advertising or commercial work.
yeah,
And then there's consumer work, which is a completely separate sphere of photography. Different price points, different type of people, different products. And if you have all three, it's unlikely that all three will go down at the same time.
yes,
In fact, during COVID was when I got so many more requests for family photography.
Yeah.
Everyone's feeling that everyone's going to die soon and their life is coming to an end, that they needed to immortalize that family portrait.
Everyone realizes what's important. Like life has just stopped, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I get to see my family now. This is crazy. How I never see you."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, for some families, not that important.
Yeah.
I wouldn't assume that they are.
maybe so.
Some might want a picture taken so that they can send it over so that they don't have to go over.
Worth it in some cases.
So, yeah, so to do different things, basically, yeah, which will allow you a safer career.
Yeah. Do you what's the if you were taken care of financially, what's the sort of stuff that you would like to just shoot?
I think about this all the time.
Perfect.
I would love to shoot culture and religion all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a longer term project that I started a while back during my corporate life, where money was a lot less of an issue. And obviously, travel was available at the time. So every year I'd go somewhere different. Yeah. So I'll be in Vietnam a lot, I'll be in Philippines a lot, India. And I'll time it with the rituals that happen, the big religious rituals. And I'll document that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not dead, it's just not available to me at this point. But I will continue it, and hopefully that turns out into some sort of a book, some sort of a story,
Ooh.
some sort of a print, right? So let's see. I've shot the Good Friday rituals in the Philippines. So that's one of the few places on Earth that they still crucify themselves, like really, right? So pegs through the hands, yeah, and they walk themselves down. So they reenact the whole
Yeah.
Good Friday happenings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shot the Kumbh Mela in India. The Kumbh Mela is the largest gathering of people on Earth for a single purpose. So
Wow.
it's, they basically gather around what they call Trivenis, the meeting of rivers. Yeah, and they bathe in it because it's holy. It's meant to cleanse you and reset your karma. At that particular kumbh, called the Maha Kumbh, was about 30 million people. Yeah, in Allahabad. Yeah, this was 2013, if I'm not wrong. And there's an interesting story here because in Singapore, Steve McCurry, you familiar with Steve McCurry?
No.
No? Okay. You will be when you look at his pictures, because his pictures are more famous than his name. All right. You're familiar with the Afghan girl on the National Geographic?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. He shot that amongst
Oh, yeah.
a million other pictures. Anyway, I met him in Singapore and I asked him, hey, what's the single most impressionable memory you have of a location that you've been to? And he said the Maha, the Kumbh Mela. And I looked it up, and on that year was the big year.
Yeah.
Right? It happened the cycle is every 4 years.
Yeah.
But this particular one was the 144-year cycle. The big, Maha means big, right? Booked ticket and I went,
Yeah.
right? So I'll shoot culture and religion. Yeah, I'll shoot culture and religion. Yeah. So far I have a small body of work, but not big enough to do anything with. Yeah. But hopefully one day it will get to a point where I can, if money wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think draws you to that?
Culture and religion, how it shapes people, shapes their beliefs, shapes their behaviors. I love travel, love eating food. That's all the bonus that comes with it.
Yeah.
Visually, it's colorful, it's dirty, it's emotional. Yeah, a lot of the time, these sort of rituals revolve around the idea and the theme of pain, because pain cleanses, right? In Christianity, they flagellate themselves, if you remember, yeah, as a way to atone for sins and whatnot. Yeah, and it's the same in most other religions.
Yeah.
Fasting is
Yes.
a form of pain and suffering. Yeah, in Buddhism, pain and suffering. You know, the theme is very, very similar wherever you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exploring that is nice, and if you can translate that to pictures, even better. And I don't know, isn't it nice to play in that fabric where humanity is kind of tied to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just trying to find, an example, of what I mean, of this type of images, and it's also interesting, right? That there's no other time unless there's a common reason why people get together,
Yeah.
to have that many people in the same place at the same time,
Yeah.
right? That's the crossing of one of the rivers.
Yeah.
And if you look carefully, it's absolutely chock-a-block with people, like just dots, right? And some of the more famous images will show you oceans of people. You
Yeah.
just see nothing but heads.
I actually almost thought there was just one person in that photo.
Yeah, that's the juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
To see that one person amongst all the rest. And one thing that images don't portray is the sound, the smell, and the vibe that you get, and that's really difficult to translate in a photograph. I remember very, very clearly crossing one of the rivers to get to the other side, right? And the only way that you can do that is through a boat,
Yeah.
right? And you can imagine millions of people gathered in one place. The vibe, the sound, boom, boom, boom. Some people are playing drums, some people are screaming, some people are chanting, some people are doing pujas, which are, fire rituals or whatever else there is. And there's this pulse in the air, and then there's birds flying everywhere, and everyone's pissing and shitting everywhere, so there's a smell.
Yeah.
And then everyone's cooking everywhere, so there's a smell. There's just this mix of life.
Yeah.
You can't describe it. You just really have to experience it.
Yeah.
All right. So it's this kind of stuff that I like to chase. The stuff that that makes you feel alive. That sounds pretty wacky, but for lack of a better way of talking about it, makes you feel, alive.
Yeah.
You pinch yourself, you feel something,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you hardly get a lot of that these days. Yeah. So does it show that I'm really missing getting on a plane?
I think just from looking at you, yeah. Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's just, I think having a conversation is, I can see you're like totally passionate about it, but like looking at you and like how like antsy you are, I'm totally seeing it.
Yeah, I'm missing the whole travel.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I would do, Michael, if I had no money issues. But money is it's only a small part of that now,
Yeah.
because it's quite difficult to just pack your bags and go.
Yes.
Right. You're in a relationship yourself. You can't just pack your bags and go. Right. You have to at least talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. So life is quite different.
Yeah.
So I think it gets more complex, as you go, which lends to the argument now is there's no better time than now.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's difficult now, but in 5 years it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah.
Right. So you might as well do it now and suck up the difficulties.
Absolutely.
And get it done.
I remember thinking like maybe 5 years ago, I'd be like, oh, now's not a good time to make a short film or blah, blah, blah. And now it's like so much harder. And I think, wow, if I could go back then, I would like just do so much more stuff all the time. Like nothing would stop me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and thinking about in 5 years, got to do more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I suppose there's even work to be done here, without getting on a plane.
Absolutely.
Australia has one of the oldest cultures on earth.
Yeah.
Really. It'll be really nice to explore that.
Yeah.
Although I hate to say it, that I think it's a lot more culturally sensitive here, which puts up some barriers, I would say. But nothing that, a decent amount of respectful
Absolutely.
behavior and dialogue won't surpass.
Yeah.
But still, I have that initial sense that it's very culturally sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we just have to tread carefully and talk to the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would like need to see stuff like that because I feel like that's such a part of our culture that we don't really know that much about.
Absolutely. Again, I hate to compare, but if you look at our neighbor and how they've made the Maori culture and peoples that included in everyday culture, represented in just about everything.
Yeah.
A language being taught in schools. Most New Zealanders understand some basic forms of Maori.
Yeah.
Just the few words.
Yeah.
What's that?
The haka.
The haka.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they at the very least would understand what the haka was about.
Yeah.
Right, because it's actually taught.
Yeah.
Whereas I know nothing, having grown up here and went to school here. I don't have much education
Yeah.
or awareness of our indigenous people.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I have is the few words to recognize the land that they're on before
Yeah.
any speech that is given.
I remember I remember being in school in the first assembly where they said something along those lines, and I remember everyone was just like, "What? Like, what is that supposed to be?" And like, I remember the person like saying it with a microphone. It's like they didn't even know what they were talking about, and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like we say it and we don't really know. It's like, oh, that guy must know what he's talking about, but I don't think he does.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. I'd love to hear the perspective of someone that
Yeah.
actually does know and
Yeah.
feels positively about this, so that I can relate.
100%.
But right now I can't. Yeah.
100%.
And I don't know many people in that space.
Yes.
So, yeah. So culture and religion. That's my interest.
How, looking at that image and just thinking about what I would be doing if I was in that position, how do you go about shooting people maybe while they're doing something I don't know if intimate's the right word, but vulnerable? Mm-hmm. I don't know, like how do you approach them? Do you approach them?
Yeah, you certainly do. You certainly do. I mean, the last thing that I want to do is to, create an uncomfortable situation with someone who doesn't want to be photographed, particularly if it's in a religious environment and, there's processes and rituals that I'm not aware about. Well, you use a fixer, first of all. You use someone who's local and understands. And then they would typically approach them in their own language, in their own ways. But if you don't have one of those, you do it yourself. Sign language, camera in my hand. Can I take a picture of you? That kind of thing, and just be ready for them to say no. Most of the time, it's a yes. All right, and you just go about your thing and shoot, and showing them the picture is often a good way to close the loop. This is what I've done. I like to carry around a small little printer.
Oh, wow.
The Instaxes. Are you familiar with them?
No.
Yeah, so Fujifilm has and this is sponsored by Fujifilm, a small little printer like that, and it prints that
Oh, beautiful.
basically.
Yeah.
And if I see something nice, or
Yeah.
even if it's not nice, print it out, give it to them. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You know? So you're
That's
showing a little
beautiful.
bit of gratitude.
Yeah.
Right. So you do approach them, absolutely approach them yourself.
Yeah.
But a big part of it for me is also making images, being an observer, a very clear observer where your presence doesn't influence the photograph, right?
How do you do that once you've asked for permission?
Or you don't, you do it before you ask.
Ah,
right?
okay. Okay.
So you shoot around first and then you approach,
Yeah.
right? Hopefully, they're not upset or anything by then.
Yeah.
But it's not as though I'm getting in front of your face or I'm interrupting what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm standing over there with a 200mm lens or,
Yeah.
or 50mm. Man, I'm not in your face.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite, I don't think it bothers anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they do that or they do that, then okay, you get the idea. I mean,
Yeah.
all those hand signals are quite universal,
Yeah.
despite the language you speak.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, you do approach them. I like to shoot first so that I get an uninterrupted image,
Yeah.
and then I approach to get a more intimate image.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully, the two come together.
Yeah.
A lot of it though is wandering. You wander around, you start to see things. You get up at the earlier times of the day so that you see what's behind the process. Of them preparing stuff, of them cleaning up stuff. So
Yeah.
get there early and then finish off late, basically. So there's a whole bunch of ways that you could, connect politely,
Yeah.
respectfully, and if you're not doing it right, you'll know very quickly,
Yeah.
and then you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is time. I think that's quite an important thing that you can spend, right? Often you spend money because you don't have the time, right? But spending time gives you a very, very different result.
Yeah.
If you're having a conversation with someone and having a tea with them because they offered you, and through that conversation you find out things, and he makes you an offer to take you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have access, and you have access to something different to what everyone else is shooting,
Yeah.
which is openly available to anyone walking around,
Yeah.
right? So I think spending time is also a big thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Sincerely spending time, yeah. And I found that people are usually quite friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite friendly, willing to share stories.
Yeah.
Willing to hear yours. Yeah. And willing to let you take pictures. Yeah. So it's not very often they see a Oriental man walking around taking pictures. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
This is in India. I mean,
Depending on depending on where you go.
yeah.
That's awesome. I think I just learned something because I was doing a lot of street photography at one stage, and I would ask for permission, but there was a part of me that was like, oh man, I wish I could just take a photo before I approached you.
Yeah. Well, now
made you aware.
street photography, the way I see it, though, I hardly ever ask for permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's no longer, it's not. For me, it kills the feeling.
Yeah.
Of a
Yeah.
street
Absolutely.
photograph, right?
Yeah.
But in my case, what we're talking about with these sorts of pictures,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
if you're taking a picture of a a sadhu, who is an ascetic, basically, who's gone away and meditated for 100 days or something like that. You're really engaging. So then it makes it necessary to engage,
Yeah.
to connect. But on the street, maybe my idea of a street photograph is different. If you're doing street portraits, perhaps
Yeah.
you ask for permissions.
I think because I always had such a, like, that was the lens that I had. So it would have been weird if I just walked up to someone and took such a photo at such a close range.
Like an 11mm fisheye.
Not like a 30 millimeter. Yeah. So yeah, get a different lens. That's what I need.
Yeah. There are a lot of street photographers out there that are very brash in how they behave when they take the pictures. Yeah. They get the whole shock in your face, deer in the headlights type look,
Yeah.
angry look, and that sort of emotion. Yeah, you do enough of that, it becomes a nice series of pictures that
Yeah.
you can look at. And I suppose it's individual how it makes you feel. Yeah, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, then what sort of picture is it going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'd do if I had no money issues.
Amazing.
Yeah. What would you do?
I don't even know, to be honest. I think about these things, but if I hadn't, I don't know, put it this way, if I had enough money to make a film, I'm like, holy shit, that's a really big thing still. And now there's other obstacles in my way that I'm putting there. I don't know, man.
Tarantino made Reservoir Dogs with nothing,
Yeah. Yeah. That's, we all, man. This was a conversation I had with myself very recently. Because I think everyone that gets into filmmaking at one stage looks at Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, and Kevin Smith, who all like made their first films very low budget, but did a very good job and sort of made something unique that put them on the map. But I don't know. I obviously you compare yourself to those people because they're young and they just got it done by them, not by themselves, but their own sort of creativity played a big role. But I just realized that's. I mean, obviously that's not me. It's like that time has sort of passed. But I sort of feel like I am, through the other stuff that I did in my 20s, I have gone through these different experiences that are going to influence what sort of films I make in my 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I totally feel that. I totally feel what they did.
Existential angst.
Yeah, it was for a
That
while.
deep,
It
dark
was. Because I'm like, holy shit, these guys
holes.
did it like in their early 20s. Actually, I think Tarantino did it like sort of my age, but I'm like, shit, why haven't I made my feature film yet? But you know what? It's like, I don't really have anything worth saying right now anyway. Like that. And maybe the one or two things that I do have, I'm not skilled enough to say them yet.
Yeah. Well, in it was a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked earlier about how today's environment, it's so inundated with images and
yes.
emotion, and stuff gets shared everywhere. And even if you do good work, it just gets lost in this ocean of diarrhea, right?
Yeah.
Of stuff. At that time, you made a good film or an average film,
Yeah.
and you got it to the right guy.
Yeah.
It becomes something big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think comparing to Tarantino's first film is a little bit unfair
It is.
on,
It is.
on
Actually-
yourself, because it is a very different world now. And man, some of these big guys, they make some pretty shitty movies recently.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you thought of Tenet. Have you seen Tenet?
I did. I did.
What was the other movie? The Irishman.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys are legends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether or not they've whether or not they've done something that's been diluted,
Yeah.
or they overreached, or they just know that it's, to them it's really good,
Yeah.
and they have the span and the influence enough to just put it out there and
Yeah.
not give a fuck,
Yeah.
right? Who knows, right? But I think to most people, some of these films are quite polarizing in terms of what we believe is quality and what's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I for one couldn't follow Tenet.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand the characters that well because there wasn't
Yes.
enough time to know who they were. The plot was a mindfuck, and that's fine because we expect
Yeah.
to be rooted in the brain when we
Yep.
go watch some of his movies.
Absolutely.
But this was really another level where I couldn't even imagine. Yeah, and I am an electrical engineer. So yeah, I know. Look, it's a different time, and even if you had good work, there's more at play than just doing good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a big part of that is being able to get it out there to the world.
Yeah.
And today's ways of getting out to the world is this big, massive super highway that is very expensive to get on. First of all,
Yeah.
and once you get on it, it's a traffic jam.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you kind of get lost in the middle somewhere. And sometimes making something so bizarre and so different might just be the very thing that gets your name visible, so that all your older work can be seen. Who knows? But it's got to be different.
It just occurred to me. It just occurred to me what I would do, Eric, and I would actually just keep doing what I'm doing, just more frequently. I would just make a lot more stuff, because really what I want now, and like what I sort of committed to myself like about 6-9 months ago, is that I'm just going to do more stuff. And I understand it's not going to be to a quality that I want. It's not going to be stuff that I want to say, but it's practice. And I don't think I do enough filmmaking, to be honest. I just need to do more of it. Like the short film that I did shoot, which still hasn't been edited, it took 3 years of planning. And when I did shoot it, that 3 years of planning paid off, because I would have been like 4 days of shooting turned into 1 day of shooting, and I got it done because I was fucking prepared. But I can't plan for 3 years every time. And if I just had more practice, sure, I would make a lot of, let's just say, terrible things, but I'm learning as well. And,
Absolutely.
And I'm getting to the point where I don't need 3 years to prepare anymore.
Wise words.
So, yeah, that's what I would do. I would just make a lot of stuff until I figured out what I actually wanted to do.
You don't have to show anyone.
Yeah, I don't even have to show anyone. Yeah, let's go back to social media. People feel like they need to show everyone everything.
Yep.
You don't actually have to.
No.
You don't actually have to tell everyone what you're doing. You don't have to show everyone your progress. You need to do things because you want them.
No.
No, that's not a thing anymore.
Okay, let me see.
Eric, what time did you have to go?
About now.
About now. I saw the clock like before, and I was like, I think I've kept him too long, but
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty good place to end it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
Eric.
Having this chat. I haven't had a nice conversation for a long time.
It's good, right? This is definitely one of the reasons I wanted to start a podcast. I just get to have like these are the types of conversations that I like to have. But I don't know, because it's a podcast, we get to. It's less weird when I'm like, hey, do you want to have a conversation? It's less weird now. There's like a thing. You know what I mean? Do you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me, like in a relaxed environment? What are you asking?
What do you want from me?
No, it's a podcast. Oh yeah, it's fine then. I totally understand. I understand everything now. Makes sense.
Isn't that an interesting observation to make on how people are these days?
Yeah.
If I rewind 20 years,
Yeah.
I used to have conversations on the phone,
Oh shit.
right?
Yeah.
Hours of conversations on the
Yeah.
phone. You know, you call people up and shoot the breeze,
Yeah.
right? Where's that gone? It's just there's none of that anymore. Hi, it's Eric.
Yeah.
Oh, hey man, what's up? What can I do for you? Yeah, is the
Yeah.
is the typical response,
Yeah.
and I find it very it's a whole mixed bag of emotions, but it's interesting to observe
Yeah.
that we don't have conversations anymore, and I get free phone calls internationally
Yes.
on Optus, right? I don't even use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't make phone calls anymore. Yeah, and if I do, it's for a purpose and done. No call lasts more than, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, unless it's a work call where you have to talk about something.
Yeah.
But what happened to buying a takeaway coffee and walking down the road, hanging out in the park,
Yeah.
sitting by the ocean, having a chat?
I think that is that's another pitfall of social media, is that you feel that you have connected with someone. You feel that you are updated with everyone. But you're not actually. It's a mirage.
Yeah, we touched on this before we started,
Yeah.
didn't we? Yeah, it's it's interesting that. So I think this is a good thing, man.
Yeah.
I hope it goes well.
Oh, you know what? It's this is what, like, right now. It's, to me, this is well.
Yeah.
That this is all I want from it. Anyway, like, this is good enough for me. This is tremendous, actually.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I for one listen to a lot of podcasts,
Oh, me too.
and I love it.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me feel like I'm tapping into people unadulterated through the thought of writing. You know, because it's
Yeah.
real time.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite podcast is The Church of What's Happening Now, and the host Joey Diaz literally said, you pretty much said it just with different words. Like, this is what I want the podcast to be. Like, people are just listening to our conversation. Like, someone is can tap into it. And I'm like, holy shit, you're right. Like, because I listen to lots of different podcasts. My favorite ones are the ones where it's just two people talking, and I feel like I get to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah. You got to send me that name, please. Send recommendations over. I love this stuff.
Done.
Yeah?
You too.
Just flick over stuff.
All right, I'll do it. I don't even know if it'll be your cup of tea or can of worms or whatever, but like I'll send you what I'm into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Well, as long as it's not,
It's
all this.
it's pretty fucked. Nah,
Is
it's
it?
not pretty fucked. Like,
I'm curious
you're gonna
now.
see.
I'm curious
I
now.
would feel weird sending it to you, but now that you've asked for it, it's too late.
Does it involve animals?
No, it doesn't involve animals. Actually, it doesn't involve animals. It involves, basically, he gets his co-host, like, he gets him high every.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's interesting.
And what else? Yeah, I don't know. He from a certain point of view, he's like a fucked up guy that's led a fucked up life. But I love that he talks about it openly, and I don't know. It's basically a guy that turned his life around when he fell in love with, like, stand-up comedy.
Okay.
And that's the podcast, and it's like, you know what, like, I need to hear some of this stuff as a person that,
Yeah.
like, part of me think, I want to do filmmaking, but when I hear about someone else's, like, experience with their craft, I'm like, shit, man, that person really loves their thing. I got to put more into my craft. I got to fall in love with it more. And they don't put those podcasts out to, like, teach me that. That's just what I'm getting from the unadulterated conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we all take away different things.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And it's the filter of our own experiences.
Yeah. I like the opportunity to take away what I want to take away from it. Though I do like educational formatted podcasts as well, but these are my favorite types of podcasts.
I'll be completely useless as someone sitting in front of the mic with him.
Why?
If he likes to get people high.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, no, just the co-host, not the guests. Sometimes. The guests.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
But it's amazing. Like he interviews everyone,
Right.
and he makes it work. Like he'll not interview. He'll have it's like a conversation. It's not an interview. He'll do one with an MMA fighter. He'll do another one with a comedian. Another one with a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Another one with. I don't know, just someone who has a normal job. Another one with the guy that he kidnapped.
Oh.
Yeah. And they
Okay.
they just
And it's
shoot
now
the
some
breeze.
sort of weird love affair.
it's
that's been going
I
on.
don't know, it's something
term for
special.
that.
It's something special.
There's a term about falling in love.
Stockholm
with
syndrome.
someone who, is that what it is?
Yeah, Stockholm
falling
syndrome.
in love with the person who kidnapped you.
Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know. When
You listened intently, didn't you?
sorry?
You listened to that one
Very
intently.
much. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, flick it over.
I'm flicking it over. I gotta flick over the right episodes as well so that you can fall in love as well.
Okay.
Eric,
Thank you very much.
thank you so much for having me. For coming. I thank you so much for having me as like a mentee on your photo shoots. They've always given me like amazing energy, and thanks for coming on and sharing your
Not a problem.
experience with me and everyone.
See you more often.
Absolutely now. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, man.